TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. U.S. Central Command and the IDF are unceasingly eradicating the Ayatollah regime throughout Iran, while the IRGC is firing indiscriminately towards civilian infrastructure across the region and beyond. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer continues to refuse joining the war despite British military bases subject to unprovoked attacks by Iran. U.S. Central Command and IDF are operating in close cooperation to systemically degrade the Ayatollah regime in Iran, while the terror regime's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps is firing indiscriminately towards densely populated civilian infrastructure throughout the region. IDF spokesman Brigadier General Efi Defrin stressed earlier today that the offensive against the terror regime in Iran is unceasing around the clock.
We are not stopping for a moment. The pace and intensity of our attacks are unprecedented. The Iranian regime continues to suffer severe blows in all its core systems and is weakening day by day.
General Defrin continued by highlighting a number of targets that were targeted by the Israeli Air Force overnight.
Air Force aircraft, guided precisely by the IDF Intelligence Directorate, they attacked the Iranian leadership complex in the heart of Tehran, the largest and most central headquarters of the regime. This complex was used by the leader of the terrorist regime, Ali Khamenei, to conduct the war against the State of Israel, also to destabilize the entire Middle East and brutally suppress the Iranian people. As you can see on the screen, the complex was spread across many places in the heart of Tehran. During the attack on the complex, we hit the presidential office, the gathering complex of the regime's most senior forum, and other leadership and command infrastructure. In addition, we attacked the Supreme National Security Council complex, the official body responsible for making decisions on political and strategic issues throughout Iran. In another attack, we destroyed the communications and propaganda center of the Iranian terrorist regime. The regime controlled the media in Iran, pursued terrorist activities, and acted to suppress the people under the cover of civilian means and assets. For years, the Iranian Broadcasting Authority called for the destruction of the State of Israel. Now, the regime's propaganda mouthpiece is gone.
Alongside the unceasing and continued attacks against the regime targets across Iran, including right now as we speak, the IDF has also expanded its operations against the Iranian proxy in Lebanon, Hezbollah, which joined the war when it fired 6 projectiles towards Israeli territory yesterday.
Yesterday, the Chief of Staff ordered the expansion and bolstering of the front line of defense and the deployment of forces across the border in Lebanon. The forces are now holding a point-by-point area in southern Lebanon along the border. The points create an additional layer of defense for us over the settlements, and we have operational control over the area with fighters on the front line who are prepared to act against any threat. We continue to exact a heavy price from Hezbollah and to strike at the centers of gravity in Beirut. Last night, IAF aircraft completed a wave of attacks on headquarters and buildings of the intelligence headquarters of the terrorist organization Hezbollah. The infrastructure we attacked was used by the terrorist organization to gather intelligence on IDF forces, to issue terror plans against citizens of the State of Israel, and more. In addition, Navy fighters attacked terrorist infrastructure in Dahiyya and Tyre, and killed Raja Kazai, a commander in the Quds force who led the strengthening of the Hezbollah terrorist organization and was responsible for the connection between the organization and the Iranian regime. As part of his role, Kazai also served as the Chief of Staff of the Lebanese Corps of the Quds Force and assisted in establishing routes for transferring weapons from Iranian territory to Lebanon.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Netanyahu, in an interview with Fox News Channel's Hannity, voiced confidence that the war against Iran would not turn into endless conflict.
I hear the people are saying, well, you're going to have an endless war here. You're not going to have an endless war. I said it could be quick and decisive. It may take some time, but it's not going to take years. It's not an endless war. In fact, it's an effort right now to achieve the peace that we all yearn and pray for. And I think together we'll achieve it.
Prime Minister Netanyahu further addressed prospects for regime change, which he stressed was up to the Iranian people.
Now, of course, it's up to the people of Iran in the final count to change the government. But we are creating, America and Israel together are creating the conditions for them to do so.
Meanwhile, in Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump asserted during a Medal of Honor ceremony, reiterating that Iran had an opportunity to reach a diplomatic solution, yet it chose to reject all America's demands, indicating clearly its malign intent.
Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America.
Meanwhile, at Pentagon, U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, held a press conference aimed at informing the American people about the campaign against the Ayatollah regime in Iran, during the course of which Secretary Hegseth stressed that the military operations would take as long as necessary, in line with President Donald Trump's objectives.
As far as time frame, I would never hang a time frame from our perspective. The commander-in-chief sets the op tempo in terms of this fight. As I said, it's on his terms, and we'll make sure that Admiral Cooper and his team have everything they need, not just to defend. I mean, the best defense is good offense. And so we're aggressively pushing into that airspace over that southern flank to ensure that we control it and we destroy anything that moves that would attempt to shoot us. Think of it as shooting the archer instead of the arrows. That's where we want to be. And we have the kind of exquisite intelligence to get over the top, find that and destroy it. It won't happen overnight. This is a big battle space.
General Kane, for his part, stressed efforts to minimize the number of U.S. casualties, while also highlighting America's superior show of force.
First, to be clear, as the Secretary said, this is not a single overnight operation. The military objectives that CENTCOM and the Joint Force have been tasked with will take some time to achieve, and in some cases will be difficult and gritty work. We expect to take additional losses, and as always, we will work to minimize U.S. losses. But as the Secretary said, this is major combat operations. Across every domain, land, air, sea, cyber, the U.S. Joint Force delivered synchronized and layered effects designed to disrupt, degrade, deny, and destroy Iran's ability to conduct and sustain combat operations. On the U.S. side, this marked the culmination of months and in some cases years of deliberate planning and refinement against this particular target set. From precision strikes against key military infrastructure to persistent intelligence and targeting integration to the close coordination of the components across vast distances, this operation again demonstrated America's reach, readiness, and professionalism, and that of our joint united force. It was historic not only in the operational scope, but in the level of joint integration displayed across every element of the joint force. And as I said earlier, this work is just beginning and will continue.
It is important to know that the tyrannical Ayatollah regime continues to launch salvos of missiles towards Gulf nations and Israel, to include also Kuwait, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Qatar, as well as the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan and the EU member state Cyprus, where 2 British bases were struck multiple times over the past 24 hours alone. Nevertheless, in an address to the House of Commons in London, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer continued to defend his decision to refuse to join his allies in war against the terror regime in Tehran, and while acknowledging that the only way to eradicate the threat against its sovereign bases, Starmer has decided to merely grant the Americans permission to do his job for him.
Mr. Speaker, it is important for me to say that our bases in Cyprus are not being used by US bombers. The security of our friends and partners in Cyprus is of critical importance. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to be clear. The strike on RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus was not in response to any decision that we have taken. The only way to stop the threat is to destroy the missiles at source, in their storage depots or at the launchers. The US requested permission to use British bases for that specific and limited defensive purpose because they have the capabilities to do so. Yesterday evening, we took the decision to accept that new request in order to prevent Iran firing missiles across the region.
Meanwhile, the foreign minister of the terror regime in Iran, Abbas Araghchi, thought he can deceive the world by claiming that the only reason the IRGC was attacking regional countries and beyond was because American troops were present there, regardless of hard facts that proved the Ayatollah regime was indiscriminately firing ballistic missiles and drones towards civilian neighborhoods across the region.
We don't seek to regionalize the war. It will become regional simply because U.S. bases and facilities are spread across our region. When the United States attacks us, whether by fighter jets or the ships it deploys, they have access to our territory to strike with all kinds of missiles and aircraft. We cannot reach their territory, but we can reach their bases. I think those bases are legitimate targets.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers just like yourself. Please pray for the American and Israeli service members operating currently against the Ayatollah regime in Iran. Pray also for peace in Jerusalem as well as the redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.